Okay, sorry about that little glitch. I got a phone call and it stopped the video, and I did not have it on Do Not Disturb, so shows my technical prowess. Not. All right, I was sort of trying to talk my way through the 10th Amendment, which I wasn't very able to do because I was so distracted by that phone call. So here I'm going to say it more clearly. The 10th Amendment of the Constitution says specifically, all powers not enumerated to the federal government are reserved to the states. And if they're not reserved to the states, then they're reserved to each private individual. And that was so that the federal government would not take powers that were not specifically given to it in the Constitution. And specifically, those powers include police powers and powers that determine what is in the best interests of the state's health. And clearly, in this case, this does involve the health of our states. So it sort of cuts both ways, because it sort of this would have been a good answer a couple weeks ago when everyone was so critical of Trump for not making a unified policy across the United States. And now it does sort of show him that, actually you don't have the authority to do this across the nation. It really is the job of the governors to do this. But it also teaches us about the Constitution and the 10th Amendment, that certain powers not granted to the federal government are reserved for the states. And this seems to be one that is reserved to the states, at least in this opinion. All right, let's go on to the last thing. The last question is, do you feel that the stay-at-home order is an unfair infringement on your personal liberties? You can answer this however you want, and I will not judge you based on your answer. But I have a very strong opinion on this, and that is that whatever price that we're paying right now, and it is somewhat of a heavy price. It is a price that we pay just in our daily lives in limiting our mobility, and it's paying a bigger price temporarily, at least in our economy, seeing the market go down and seeing businesses struggle and throwing some people out of work. But if we look at that sacrifice versus the benefits of the stay-at-home order, I see the stay-at-home order as being so vital to our safety and our health right now that I'm thankful to the governors for stepping up to the task of making these rather unpopular decisions. Earlier models had shown that if this virus had remained completely unchecked and our behavior had not changed from our normal daily routines, that the United States might see casualties, might see deaths around the range of anywhere from 1 to 2 million people. And now, if we can see that this is going to be the major hump of the pandemic, and that we're not going to see another major resurgence of it, we're going to experience far lower, a small fraction of that number. Yes, the number of deaths is frightening, and the number of people who are getting this and the ease of transmission is really scary. But the fact that we are going to see, it is projected that we will see far fewer infections and far fewer deaths than might have been, makes whatever infringements on our liberty so worth it that I cannot say I would stay home for 6 months or a year if that's what it took to avoid a large number of people dying. And that is what I am thankful to the governors for, having the leadership and the willingness to have the unpopular of opinion to say, I'm sorry, the economy is going to suffer because of this, and your lives are going to be inconvenienced greatly because of this, but we're going to have to shut you down for this greater common good. The government exists for the greater good. And in this case, in my opinion, there is no question that what we are doing now is for the greater good. I say lives first, economy second. And if we can't ensure the health of people, then we have to focus on that first before we can ever think about bringing our economy back online again and our lives to return to normal. And if we're going to bellyache and complain about the fact that we can't go do this or we can't go do that, then I think we need to think again about what our priorities are, and that even if we're not at risk, that next person or that next person beyond that, whom we can't really see, but who is part of the public, served by the common good, we are protecting by staying at home. That's just my strong opinion on this. And if you're to say, well, yeah, but I lost my job, or I can't pay the bills, or I can't do this, I understand that because I'm in that situation right now where I am hurting economically and I don't know how I'm going to pay for certain things. I'm sure that many of your families are the same way. Well, should we then take a second look at how well we are really doing economically in this country? Are we doing so well when most, or at least a large portion of our people are living paycheck to paycheck and depend upon these these regular infusions of cash in order to just live, in order to pay the grocery bill, in order to pay the utility bill, in order to pay rent, in order to pay a mortgage? And if we are so living that close to the edge, are we really the prosperous nation that we think we are? Are we as prosperous as we are, as we think we are? And if not, should we maybe have a little greater cushion? And if that's the case, how should we create that cushion? That's an open question, and I'm going to leave it at that. Anyway, it's good to talk to you. I look forward to your submittals, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.